national coordinator of the Youth Rights Campaign, one of the organizations actively mobilizing for this End Bad Governance protest. I mean, just as my colleague said, the aim of this press conference is to address important issues pertaining to our protest. I mean, this is the fourth day of the protest, and we've seen different level of attacks, victimization across board, so that we wish to use this opportunity to address some of these important things and to also respond directly to some of the points made by Mr. President. Of course, I will not call those things points, but I mean some of the things he expressed this morning. So, comrades, good morning once again. Presidential broadcast: Tinubu is out of touch with the masses and the demands of our protest. The insistence that the protests are politically motivated shows a deep disconnection with the masses. The economic progress the president reads out are for himself and his cronies and not for the masses. The reference to protesters as misguided and uninformed shows that the president is a condescending dictator. We wish to express our sadness and deep disappointment at the latest broadcast by President Tinubu, which is the first address to the nation ever since the End Bad Governance protest started, which is now on the fourth day. After over 3 weeks since Nigerians started mobilizing to take to the streets, and after scores of dead protesters and assaulted journalists from the first 3 days of the protest, President Tinubu broadcast was nothing but a masterclass of gaslighting us, manipulating and double speaking that has plagued Nigeria's brand of public speaking for decades. Many had requested genuinely that the president should address the nation when the protest was being mobilized for, and some even felt that the president should also address even when the protest started, that perhaps he could make some points that could help douse whatever tension is on board. But to the surprise of many, who genuinely felt that if the president had addressed the nation, some of the demands of the protesters would have been captured and sharply addressed by the president. Many of them are today disappointed by what the president read out today. The president only justified state of violence on protesters because we all read out when the president tried to make it appear like what happened in the last 3 days. The level of death, injury and attack on our fundamental rights is nothing but an unfortunate incident that could have been prevented. Of course, maybe too late, could have been prevented only if the president himself had immediately met the demands of the protesters even before we commenced the protest. But what we witnessed was that the president himself, and not just him, even cronies, turned deaf ears to our demands, and the president had to start speaking to various special advisers, people of different names who were never appointed by Nigerians in the first place. The claim by President Tinubu that our protests are driven by a political agenda to tear Nigeria apart is nothing but an attempt to call a dog a bad name so that it can be hanged. It is a gross misrepresentation of the obvious fact and has become the economic reality of all Nigerians. These protests have been largely faceless and leaderless because it was a spontaneous response to the deep economic crisis experienced by Nigeria, the sharp inequality, barbarous corruption and gross human rights abuses that we have seen every day before us. The protest was a lawful response of the Nigerian people to the failure of the Tinubu government and the entire ruling class to address this endemic systemic crisis after over 4 months in power. 14 months in power, rather. These protests were mobilized for by the flagrant extravagance of political office holders in Nigeria for the past 14 months, while asking Nigerians to be patient of hunger and hardship, which they claim to be our sacrifice for the nation. But what we have experienced within the 14 years is that those 14 months, is that those who asked us to be patient and have sacrifice are the same persons who are living luxurious lifestyle, who are budgeting millions and billions of naira to live lavishly. In fact, we heard when lawmakers bought vehicles worth over 130 million naira for themselves. At a point, even the president had to budget billions of naira to renovate the presidential building in Lagos. And from the record, the former president who spent 4 years in office only used that residence just twice in those 8 years. Yet the president felt the hardship faced by Nigerians were not needed. That what should be the priority of the government was to go and lavish billions of naira to renovate buildings. We think clearly that this itself is not sacrifice. That instead, Nigerians, the poor masses, are the ones being sacrificed by the Tinubu government. And it is on that basis that Nigerians themselves felt the need that enough is enough, that they cannot continue to live under this kind of hardship, especially when you consider the abundant resources we have in Nigeria to transform our lives, which was what mobilized for that protest. Because in the recent period, we've had many calls, especially from government supporters, that the protests they need to know the sponsors or people who are mobilized for it. But we've made it clear at different points that the Tinubu government himself and the policies they've implemented over the years are the reasons why Nigerians took to the street. Therefore, they are the ones who have mobilized us for this protest.